I was out for my morning jog when I turned onto my street and saw it. My Navy patrol boat, my pride and joy, sitting in my driveway with its tarp slashed open. Red spray paint screaming junk across its hull. My heart sank, then burned. I knew exactly who'd done this. Evelyn Harper, our HOA president, who'd been hounding me to ditch the boat since I moved to Clearwater Shores, thinking she could bully a retired Coast Guard mechanic into submission. What she didn't count on was me turning her vandalism into a legal trap, mooring that same battered boat right by her fancy lakefront mansion, and watching her face a $500,000 fine that sent her packing. My name's Jack Ramsey, and this is the story of how I retired to a quiet lakeside community in Willow Lake, Georgia, only to spark a showdown with a woman whose ego was bigger than the lake itself, until my Coast Guard savvy, a clever loophole, and her own recklessness brought her empire crashing down. After 25 years keeping patrol boats running through storms and standoffs, I picked Clearwater Shores for its calm, tidy homes, shimmering water. A perfect spot to restore a decommissioned 24-foot patrol boat I'd named Stinger. It wasn't fancy, just a rugged aluminum workhorse, but to me, it was a piece of history. A project to fill my days with purpose, maybe even take folks on lake tours to share its story. I'd planned every bolt, every weld, like I was still on duty. But Evelyn had other ideas, and my boat became her personal crusade. Clearwater's the kind of place where lawns look like golf courses and neighbors wave, but Evelyn ran it like a dictator. She was in her early 60s, with a platinum bob that didn't budge and a wardrobe of loud blouses that screamed, "I'm the boss." Her Cadillac SUV was her throne, parked like she owned the street. As HOA president, she'd fine you for a crooked mailbox or a wrong shade of curtains. Her clipboard always ready to strike. Most folks bowed to avoid her wrath, but I wasn't wired that way. When I moved in last spring, I checked the HOA rules. Dense, picky, but loose on vehicles. A covered boat on a trailer in my driveway? Perfectly legal. For a month, it was fine. Neighbors asked about Stinger, curious about the tarp's shape. I'd share my plans, and they'd nod, impressed. Then I met Evelyn at the HOA picnic, a staged affair where she held court like royalty. She shook my hand, her smile tight, eyes locking on my driveway. "That's quite a project, Mr. Ramsey," she said, her tone like she'd found a weed in her roses. I felt the warning in her voice, like I'd brought a tank to her tea party. A week later, a letter arrived on crisp HOA stationery, citing community aesthetics and hinting I should move the boat. It was vague, no teeth. So I wrote back, polite but firm, quoting the rules that allowed my setup and offering to show my restoration plans. No reply. 2 weeks later, another letter, sharper, claiming Stinger hurt neighborhood character and property values, with a blurry photo of my driveway snapped from the street. It felt like a violation, someone sneaking around my home. I dug in. My Coast Guard training kicking in. Assess, document, respond. I sent another letter, refuting her claims with the HOA's own rules and proof Stinger was registered, covered, and no eyesore. I talked to my neighbor, Ed, a retired teacher who'd lived here a decade. "Evelyn's got a mean streak," he said, shaking his head. "She once fined Mrs. Carter for clashing flowers. Watch her back." The letters kept coming, each nastier, citing rules that didn't exist. One even claimed the boat attracted pests. Pure nonsense. The final straw was a demand to remove Stinger in 7 days or face fines. No rule cited. Just Evelyn say so. I called a lawyer friend, Dan, who laughed. "Her case is garbage, Jack. But she'll make your life hell. Keep records." So I did. Every letter, every photo, every interaction, filed like a mission log. Then came the vandalism. That morning, seeing Stinger defaced, junk in red paint, tarp torn, half scratched, hit me like a gut punch. This wasn't just a boat. It was my retirement, my connection to a life of service. I didn't yell or storm Evelyn's house. I grabbed my phone, snapped photos, and called the police. Officer Tate arrived, took my statement, and noted my feud with Evelyn. "No proof, no case," he said, shrugging. "Got cameras." My doorbell cam missed the boat's angle, so I hit the store, buying high-def night vision cameras with cloud storage. By dusk, I'd wired them to cover every inch of my property, Stinger in their sights. If Evelyn tried again, I'd have her. I sent a registered letter to the HOA, copying Evelyn and the board. with the police report and damage photos, demanding an investigation into the vandalism tied to her harassment. Her reply was a masterclass in dodging regret for my misfortune. But maybe Stinger drew trouble. No apology, just a jab that I'd caused it. Her nerve was something else, like she was daring me to fight. I leaned into my training. Plan, observe, strike when ready. Ed tipped me off to Evelyn's history, bullying neighbors over trees, swings, even paint colors. She thrived on fear, bending rules to fit her whims. But she'd picked the wrong guy. I wasn't just a retiree. I was a guy who'd kept ships running under fire. A week later, my cameras paid off. At 2:17 a.m., my phone pinged, motioned by Stinger. The feed showed a hooded figure, spray can in hand, painting trash on the hull. They glanced around, then bolted, but as they hit my streetlight, their hood slipped. Clear as day. Jake Harper, Evelyn's 20-year-old son. Home from college. My pulse raced, not just proof, but a link to her. I didn't run to the cops yet. A vandalism charge on Jake was too small. I wanted Evelyn, the puppet master. And I had a plan to make her pay. I took the footage to Officer Tate, who nodded. That's Jake, all right. We'll charge him. But I asked him to hold off. I needed more. Clearwater's lake wasn't HOA turf. It was county-controlled, and Evelyn had been posing as the community's voice to the lake authority. Bad-mouthing Stinger to block my plan to volunteer it for patrol duties. I saw my opening. Use her own tactics against her. The HOA rules were vague on temporary boat storage for repairs, and the lake authority could override them for a distressed vessel. Stinger was damaged, thanks to Jake. I applied for an emergency mooring permit, citing vandalism, and got it. 2 weeks to assess and repair Stinger in public waters, right by Evelyn's swanky lakefront house. I hired a boat hauler, explaining I needed Stinger moved to a permitted spot. The driver, a gruff guy named Ray, raised an eyebrow at the graffiti but shrugged. Your call, man. I tipped Ed, who was thrilled. She'll lose it, Jack. I'll be filming. On a sunny Saturday. With lakegoers out, we rolled Stinger to the public ramp, 30 feet from Evelyn's dock, in full view of her glass-walled patio. Ray floated it into place, secured the lines, and left. I lingered, pretending to check the hull, waiting for the show. It didn't take long. Evelyn stormed out, floral robe flapping, face red as the paint on my boat. What is this? She screamed, waving her arms. Get that heap out of my view. Neighbors on docks turned, drawn to the drama. Her husband, Phil, trailed her, mumbling. Evelyn, calm down. I stayed cool, phone recording. Morning, Mrs. Harper. I called. Just mooring Stinger for repairs, per my lake authority permit. You know, after the vandalism. Her eyes bulged. You can't do this. I'm HOA president. I'll have it towed. I smiled. Go ahead. Call the cops. Let's talk about who vandalized it. She dialed, ranting, and soon Officer Tate and a lake ranger, Miss Cole, arrived. Evelyn pounced. Arrest him. This boat's illegal. Cole held up my permit. Mr. Ramsey's within his rights, ma'am. The lake's ours, not the HOA's. Then she dropped the hammer. We also know you've been slandering his boat to us. And your son's on video damaging it. Charges are coming. Evelyn went pale, stammering. Jake? That's a lie. Tate nodded. We've got him, ma'am. Clear as day. Neighbors gasped. Phones out. Recording her meltdown. Phil looked like he wanted to vanish. Evelyn wasn't done, though. Furious, she hired a crew to build a dirt berm by her dock, blocking Stinger's view. No permits. Ripping out protected plants and dredging the shore. I flew my hobby drone to inspect Stinger, catching her illegal work in 4K. A worker, confused, admitted. She said permits weren't needed. I sent the footage to the state environmental agency, and within days, inspectors swarmed her property. Stop work orders flew, and a month later, Evelyn was hit with $600. 000 in fines for habitat destruction and unpermitted dredging. Her rage-fueled mistake, now front-page news. She tried suing me through the HOA, claiming Stinger was a nuisance. In court, Dent shredded her case, flashing my permit, Jake's vandalism video, and her harassment letters. The judge, annoyed, tossed it, scolding her lawyer for frivolous claims. The loophole, vague HOA rules and lake authority precedents, sealed my win. Back home, neighbors rallied. Ed led a no-confidence vote, ousting Evelyn and her cronies. A new board, led by Mrs. Lopez, apologized to me, rewrote the rules, and threw a lake barbecue where Stinger, freshly repaired with Jake's settlement cash, gleamed. I took her out, neighbors cheering from shore. Evelyn sold her house at a loss, Fines eating her savings, and moved away, her husband trailing, defeated. Clearwater's alive now, quirky docks, real parties, no more clipboard terror. The Lake Authority tightened shoreline rules, calling it the Harper lesson. Stinger's my pride again, proof I didn't just survive Evelyn's war. I won it, not with fists, but with patience, proof. And her own mistakes. But here's the rub, and I want your thoughts. Evelyn ruled because folks let her, scared silent by her fines. Was she the only bad guy, or did fear fuel her? And when a bully like her strikes, do you fight solo, or need a crew? Share your HOA nightmares or wins below. Let's talk. We're only as tough as the stand we take together.